I'm joined today by Carl. Hello, Carl.
Hello, mate.
So we spoke last year about your story of Parkinson's. We spoke a little bit about the Gathering,
Yeah.
CVM, Edge Ministries. But today, what's been really exciting me is all about the Beech Band. So
Yes.
just give us a really basic overview. For people who haven't yet seen or heard or know anything, what is the Beech Band all about?
So, I have various issues with Parkinson's. You can't hear it at the moment, but I really struggle with my speech and my walking, and I can freeze in place when I go to move, stuff like that. And I can get anxiety attacks, which I'm not an anxious person, but it's just caused by the damage to my brain. And so I discovered, in a nutshell, over a period of time, a method of tapping myself, which I know sounds strange, that eliminated those symptoms completely. And I mean, in terms of my speech, I was told it was essentially the incurable problem in Parkinson's. The only solution was to speak slow. Again, you can't hear it now, but I get a very bad word block and stammer when the meds are wearing off. It may happen actually during this call. Actually, you just heard it then. I just said a double D, so it does creep in, but it gets really bad. But they teach you cueing in Parkinson's, which is, you speak to the beat or you speak really slow, and both of those things don't really work. But one night, while I was eating a double decker, I came across a methodology which no one else seems to teach, which was to create a signal in my body at a constant beat that you actually ignore, that the brain's it sort of latches onto through neuroplasticity or whatever, and enabled me to overcome my symptoms. So I got in touch with a friend of mine, Nick Whiteley, who's a tech head. And that weekend, he built a device in suggestions of what I was doing based on the method. He posted the device to me. I've actually got it here. This was the first ever one, an RFID band with a haptic in it. And we put it on and it worked. And in a nutshell, I had this intuition that it might work for other autonomic conditions. So we tried it on people with tics, Tourette's, anxiety, benign essential tremor, and it worked. Like, we couldn't believe it. It was just stopping these symptoms dead. And so we created a company to make it a super simple, highly accessible, super low cost, simple device. And we started running tests and trials with people all over the world based on the tapping technique or the band, and it works. We formed an advisory group of research scientists and product experts, and we're very close now to distributing the first 1,000 and going to full scale manufacture next year. And it's mind boggling. No one understands why it works, but and there's some big news coming. I can't jump the gun and tell you about, but people are getting into partnership with us. Some of the biggest names in things like speech pathology have said we cured the incurable. It really is a 21st century miracle.
Right, let's just go back a little bit then. So,
Yeah.
Parkinson's, I guess one of the most classic symptoms that even I would think, well, okay, someone with Parkinson's, they're going to struggle with their balance or walking, but the speech is always the one that I immediately think that's got to be really hard, because you hear someone who's
Yeah.
Parkinson's, and obviously you can hear their speech is either a bit slurred or stuttering. They're really, really
Yeah.
struggling.
Yeah, and you can get quiet voice, or what they call fascinating speech, where you speak too fast. And my particular problem isn't those. I've got a rare presentation, which only affects about 6%. It gets slow in stammering. In fact, my diction was going off 10 years ago, but because they think I've had the disease around that time. But when I get it, and it's sort of creeping, the longer I talk, the more it becomes present. But when I get it, it completely stops me from having an effective conversation. And it has actually moved me to tears a number of times. And I can get a very husky, quiet voice too when I'm off the meds. So yeah, it's a real pain in the neck.
So the medication that helps, but obviously medication is always going to have side effects because it's chemicals in the body.
Yeah.
So it's doing good stuff, but obviously that's causing other issues potentially as
Yeah.
well. But how
No,
long would the medication normally last? I mean, is it 100% effective for you, or is
no.
it not?
It gives me about 80 to 90% of myself back, but it doesn't really cut through the speech problem. It does for a short period, but then it creeps in, especially the longer the day goes on or how much under pressure I am. You have to take the meds continually. They give me between 3 and 4 hours at best, and they call that you either on or off. But the astonishing thing about the band is it seems to work across other autonomic conditions. So, and the psychological issues around anxiety that cause the symptoms. But the Parkinson's is basically the death of my dopamine neurons, and it's progressive degenerative. So I'm only going worse. But when I put my device on, it's as if I've switched 80% of the disease off. It's actually remarkable.
So it's the thing is, it sounds so unbelievable, and yet it doesn't, because I've seen
Yeah.
bits and pieces of this on
Yeah.
Facebook and whatever. But
Yeah.
it just sounds, well, this can't be right, and yet it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it works. I mean, no one's questioning that. No neuroscientist, researcher, patient who tried it on has actually questioned it. And it's straight. I mean, I get involuntary movements due to the drug. So it's called dyskinesia, or we call it disco in the trade, because it makes you wobble about. But it even stops that. It
Wow.
even stops the side effects of the drugs. I mean, actually, you can hear my voice is going off now. Actually, why I've been on the talk, because probably my meds are coming to an end. So I'm going to put this first one on that we ever made. I didn't know I was going to start switching off actually, but so I'll put this on, and I don't know what's going to happen, whether it's going to clear this up. But okay, so now my tone of my voice has just changed because
Yeah.
immediately I turn the band on. It relaxes my vocal cords, which tighten up due to Parkinson. So it relaxes the muscles. And
Wow.
actually, my diction's cleared up as well. Now, if I now turn this off, and then I can to try and continue to speak, then you see the effect on my voice. It's actually made me momentarily worse because the signal is so relaxing. I lose the discipline I had before trying to speak. So this is Parkinson's off, but I haven't got the stammer at the moment. It's a bit of word lag. And then I turn that on and my voice comes back. Mad, isn't it?
That is just
Yeah.
unreal.
Yeah. It's crazy. I've turned it off now because I want to save the battery.
That's fine. So obviously you've got your prototype, and you're going to develop it along the way.
Yeah, we're on prototype 8, I think, and that's very close to the final device. The manufacturers are in place. We're going to do initial launch of 1,000 and then go to full scale manufacture next year and get it out globally. It'll be a global launch. Yeah.
So you talked about other autonomic conditions as well. You mentioned twitches and is it Twitch Tourette's?
Yeah, Tourette's, tics, autonomic tachycardia, atrial fibrillation that comes from anxiety. So it doesn't stop verbal Tourette's, but it stops the motor symptoms in Tourette's where people tick a lot. It will definitely stop that.
Palpitations. I've just had heart surgery, an ablation where they burn the heart away,
Yeah.
to try and stop really severe palpitations. Even my consultant said, "Oh gosh, you are suffering, aren't you?" So this potentially could actually help with palpitations as well.
It's very calming. We think it's taking people from the sympathetic mode in the nervous system, which is fight or flight, to the parasympathetic, which is where we should be, which is calm and comfort. It's almost like the safe place of the mother's womb type stuff. I've designed the resonance around that and the frequency of the tapping. The secret source is if you go too fast or too slow in a very fine parameter, it doesn't actually work. So yeah, it's a real interesting advance, and there'll be years of research done around this, I'm sure.
I mean, 18 months of severe palpitations. The anxiety is definitely the bit I recognize that seems to be synonymous across all sorts of different struggles.
Right.
For me, anxiety is very much a thing. 3 o'clock in the morning, your heart's pounding away. You know, in essence, it shouldn't really kill you, but it just creates so much anxiety in me. I get a bit aggressive because I can't cope with what's going on in my heart.
That's right, yeah. And we've had people put this on who are anxious and they settle within minutes. But also we've had people try it who don't particularly feel anxious about anything and they say they just feel really great. So we think it will be really well taken up. We intend to give 25% of profits minimum to charities, and we're also not making a very profitable company. We're keeping the price very, very low. It will be under £20 because we don't want to exploit people for their health problem. You know, we just want to make this accessible, and there's no need for smartphone tech, no apps, no Bluetooth. It's just play and go. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I've been watching the journey of this on the socials and thinking,
it's a remarkable thing. It is incredible. Yeah, and it baffles me. The only answer I can give to people in whatever meeting I'm in is that God gave this to me. You know, I believe for such a time as this, to pour my water over my keyboard. I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, for such a time as this, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I do, because health is such a difficult one. I think you're making it rechargeable. Is that right?
Yeah, so it would be rechargeable around. I'm just mopping up some water while it's
No, that's fine.
rechargeable for about 8 hours, maybe more. But we're suggesting to people that what you need to do is use it as a get out of jail free card. So you don't keep it on all day. You use it as and when you need it.
So not just indefinite, but it's going to help you when you need to have a conversation. You just need to have that chat.
That's right. Or you're having a bad anxiety attack. You can turn it on. Your dyskinesia is getting to you. You can turn it on. Your tics are causing you problems. Maybe your eyes are shutting too much. You're finding it hard to drive. You can turn it on and use it. You know, you've got to give a talk somewhere, turn it on. It's that kind of use, really. Yeah.
It is stunning, and I would definitely think, this just seems too God inspired.
Yeah.
And you've got so many great contacts from all the stuff you've done over the years that comes to this. Let's do that.
Yeah, and we have got a lot of people interested from outside my existing circles, people, who have just seen what we're trying to do and can see that it works. They might not understand it, but they can see it has efficacy, and they are rallying around us, astonishingly, actually, all over the world. So our biggest concern at the moment is, will we be able to manufacture enough? And we've got a UK manufacturer, great British company. We're very excited. We hope to have the first 1,000 out before Christmas. And watch this space. It's a wild ride, but I often find myself in tears with people because they get their lives back. They turn the device on and their lives change. I mean, they can feel it sometimes before they even open their mouths, and they know they're feeling better. Crazy, right?
It is, but that anxiety, which I wanted to come back to, that's definitely what I can personally identify with after so long of palpitations. It grabs you, it ruins your life. I lose a night of sleep, I lose days having to try and recover, and then it starts again, and it's just this vicious cycle.
Yeah, that's right. And what this does, you turn it on anywhere you are, but so say you kick back, turn it on, and normally within about 10 minutes, people are feeling pretty calm. Yeah, wow. It literally shifts it's a vagus nerve issue, the parasympathetic nervous system. And we tried it on people with acute PTSD, rampant anxiety attacks, and it calms them down. And the associated, stresses that they're feeling in their body. And it's also sent people to sleep who are struggling with insomnia. Yeah, remarkable, actually.
If this isn't a God thing, I don't know what is, honestly.
It's almost a new medicine. We're bringing it out as a wellness device. We're calling it a calm, comforting device, which works across a range of issues and symptoms that you feel. And then maybe over time, we'll proposition it as a medical device. It could be adopted by the NHS. It's a very long-term project. It's consuming a huge amount of hours at the moment, but it's precious. It's life-changing stuff.
Wow. I really wanted to talk to you about this because I saw it. I saw some of the videos of people who are saying just the tapping thing was just this is literally life transforming. I'm getting some of my life back.
Yeah, absolutely. And the tapping method is about 70% effective compared to the band. We discovered that because the band is consistent. And if you've got fine motor control issues or you're struggling with the tremor, then it's hard to tap consistently. And actually, you can tap anywhere, but the device does the work for you. The key is it has to be on you, not an external object, and you have to ignore it. So I go online a lot with people and explain how to do it properly. And when they learn how to do it, often they try on their own, it doesn't work. But when I show them how to do it, or I send a video instruction through, then it has a very powerful impact.
You said for a time such as this, that's the phrase that came to mind every time I see you talking about the Beech Band. You talking about, I see somebody who's just got that ray of hope of I can do this again, and I just think it's so simple. It just has to be of God because the stuff of God is simple for all.
Yeah, and it's a bit like people are saying, why has no one done this before? And to me, Andy, it's a bit like the balance bikes of like 8 years ago. kids were always using stabilizers, and someone thought, why don't we just take the pedals off and let them learn how to balance? And everyone thought, why didn't we do that before?
Yeah.
So it's a bit like that. But God makes a way, doesn't he? And he reveals stuff. Sometimes I think humans don't see the wood through the trees, but some of us do when the Lord shows us. And I think it was Einstein who said we can't solve today's problems using using the methods that caused the problems in the first place.
Amen to that.
So we need to think outside the box, and that's all I've done. And be prepared to look stupid in front of neurologists and extremely bright people, because who would have thought tapping yourself could overcome symptoms? But it turns out it does. But if you do it in the way I discovered, it's not just sitting there tapping. There's a way and a method, but yeah, it's extremely powerful.
It is amazing. We're following it, and we want to promote it as much as we can, because I just think if you can give, I mean, the anxiety I get, if you can help someone just with that bit that I grasp, if you can relieve that from their medical symptoms,
Right.
everything about the struggle with their particular condition, whatever it might be, Parkinson's, Tourette's, palpitations, whatever, it without the anxiety, all of a sudden everything gets easier to take on.
Everything gets easier. Yeah, it's utterly remarkable. And I think for anxiety, it will be one of the big ticket items. It just works. Yeah.
And the PTSD part, I went through PTSD CBT. It's the most intensive therapy. I had a minute's test. I slept for 27 hours. You know, if it can help with stuff like that, hey, that's just got to be such a good thing.
That's right. Yeah, and it will. Now, we tried it on people with PTSD. Now, I'm not saying it'll help every single person, but I'm pretty confident at the moment that most people who try it will get a benefit.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not often lost for words. I can ramble away, but this is just, it is breathtaking what God has given you.
Yeah, it is. It's very humbling, and it could be global news and in its time, but we will always say, well, we give God the glory, and
Amen.
He gave it to us. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You and I can't sit here without talking about a mutual friend,
Yeah.
Steve Legg, who sadly passed away earlier this week. I cried, I think, for 2 days, couldn't stop. My head was pounding, just trying to think, trying to find breath sometimes. I don't know, that's a stupid question, but I mean, how have you found this week trying to find some routine, normal?
Yeah, I've kept myself busy, but it's caught me out a good few times. The day after the evening he died, it was a big struggle for me. We were actually extremely close, very dear friends, and cheered each other along a lot, over many years. I only had dinner with him a few weeks ago and his family, so it's devastating, actually. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a tribute to him for Christianity Mag, but I've not been able to read it back. So that's how I feel. Yeah, I know he's of the Lord.
Yeah,
but it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the one thing that I think I've seen loads of people trying to not craft anything clever, just trying to say something of their emotions. And the one thing that's synonymous with everybody is he was my friend, and that's what I would have said.
That's right. Yeah. Bottom line, he was a good man, and he was my friend.
Yeah.
I miss him.
Yeah.
Always will.
It's been tough. He always spoke out of you every time I spoke to him. And I was actually planning to go down and see him in a few weeks because he helped me write a book. And I had this chat with Andy Godfrey last night, who's recently published a book. And Steve said to Andy, no, that's the wrong title. Do this title. And Andy said, but I want this. But Steve said it. We'll go with it. And I had exactly the same conversation with Steve saying, I don't like this title that you think is better. And
a ferociously creative guy, very sharp. Yeah, one of the best of us.
Very much so. I think we just had to touch on him a little bit. We can't not talk of him.
I'm glad to.
And I just want to know how I can encourage others in some ways. He encouraged me. He encouraged our station. He encouraged my family.
Yeah.
I remember my oldest son had emergency surgery, and Steve said, please don't go to bed unless you tell me that he's okay. And I just think it was like 11:30 at night or something. I just think that's who he was. It was just that care for people, wasn't it?
That's right. That's who he was.
Yeah. And I see that in you as well, as you're looking at the Beech Band and you're thinking, how can we help people?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, add value to people. People before profits. People come first.
Amen.
Yeah, I think if we stick to that, we'll do well. God will bless us.
I think he already is, and I think he will continue to do so. I really am praying for the Beech Band to help people.
I appreciate it a lot.
I
We'll
mean,
get one to you as soon as we can.
No, I palpitations have robbed I don't know how many nights of sleep, and it's the anxiety that I think I'm only just beginning to recognize. But I've had an ablation now, so in theory it should peter off, but I'm still having them, and it does cause me masses of anxiety because it just makes you aggressive because your heart's not right, and it's horrid. Yeah, keep on praying. We'll keep pushing as much as you can. Thank you, Carl. Little talk about Carl, about Steve, and also just about the Beech Band, because for a time such as this, straight out of scripture, absolutely.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, Carl. God bless, mate.
Here at Pure 24/7 Radio, we have had the privilege of speaking to some amazing people with amazing stories.
So I was already doing the work of an evangelist, and then I discovered that there was a term for it. And then I realized, I really wanted to learn more about the Bible and Christianity. So I went to theological college.
Most people think that my life as a marine biologist was spent riding on the back of a dolphin into the sunset.
That's my view.
Yeah, I did that. Never.
Been on the road 35 years, man and boy, doing magic and comedy to communicate the gospel. When I started off in '88, I was doing escapology. I kind of took that on from a friend of mine called Pete Gilbert, who was a real pioneer in creative communication.
If you have missed any of these interviews or would like to hear them again, you can. Simply head over to our catch-up section at www.pure247radio.org. That's www.pure247radio.org.